swinging by.
Thanks for having me.
And if you want to, kids, Google it. Alan Moffat. He was a giant of the Australian racing industry. He's still with us. Look him up. Or ask your dad. I'm sure he would have sat on that couch at Bathurst many years.
And he was a very handsome man, so maybe ask him up.
He was American at the time, and there weren't that many of them.
Canadian,
well,
actually,
they were the same. Still hard.
Canadians love hearing that.
This is Kennedy Malloy.
Kennedy Malloy, the best choice for the drive home for the best power tool.
Welts that last a week. The DJ would be wishing he only had welts that lasted a week. But no, when they cane you in Singapore, it's category 5. So you have scars that last you for life. For the rest of your life. Scars, physical scars that last for the rest of your life, and mental scars that last for the rest of your life, and darkness I became. The sun, the moon, they have all been blown out. Yeah, it's a bit disturbing. And the DJ had a passion too for hooch. That's what got him into trouble. Passion for hooch, a passion for fun, a passion for having fun, and for bringing people together, and giving people pleasure through music, and trusting in people, doing anything really for his friends, doing anything really for other people, taking risks for other people. Nothing he did was for himself. Everything was for other people. Everything was for his friends. When he had spare money, including from doing illegal things, like selling fake driver's licenses back in England to underage people. He was underage, and his friends were underage. He was in college, and he wasn't 18 yet, and he was keen on the club scene. He ended up being a DJ in Singapore, so he liked nightclubs from the start. And what do you do if you can't get into a nightclub? Well, print off a fake driver's license. And then what do you do if you're short of money? Sell them. Because then you're helping all your friends. They can get into the nightclubs too. They can buy alcohol too. And so he sold a lot. Over 100,000 pounds worth, actually, which is illegal and it's naughty. And I'm not saying he didn't deserve to be punished for it. I mean, if you break the law, you have to expect that you're going to be punished, right? I got no argument with that. No argument with that at all. The DJ himself has no argument with that. He's like, okay, I broke the law, I deserve to be punished. But punishment is not life-destroying torture and imprisonment. And some people are so stupid they can't even tell the difference. Those are the social conservatives. Idiots that can't tell the difference between punishment and torture. You know, the Nazis were among them. And they're everywhere. The world's overrun with them in 2019. They're all over the place. And it's kind of depressing, really, that people can be that stupid. In 2019, like, we've had the whole enlightenment, we've had all the education, and people are still as stupid as they ever were. And sadistic. And dishonest. Religious people. Moral police. The world's not getting better, man. So you need comedy. And you need DJs. You need people that can lift people up. People that can bring joy and happiness to people. And if they break a few little local laws and rules, you should be willing to go, okay, well, you know, on balance, you're trying to help people, you're trying to lift people. So we still need to punish you, but we're going to go a bit easy on you. Because we know your heart's in the right place. You're a loving guy. You're a child of Gabriel. We're not going to torture you. But in Singapore, no, let's torture this guy. Let's absolutely cane him, Cat 5 intensity. Let's get our thrills. Caning the living crap out of this guy because he's a child of Gabriel. And we are two-faced sadists, monsters. And let's take him into the dark place and abuse him. Physically, mentally, psychologically, emotionally abuse him. And destroy his life and destroy his backside as well. Why not? We can. We're powerful. We're the authority. We're the government. We're the judiciary. We're the court. We're the judge. We're the magistrate. We're the prison officers. We can do whatever the hell we want. We are authoritarian. They don't advertise that, but that's what they are. They don't have the courage to come out and say, yes, we are sadists. Yes, we do torture people. If you don't like it, it's tough. They torture people and then they deny it. They say, oh, it's not torture. Oh, no, we don't torture. They can't even admit it. That's what's so, crazy, is that the rest of the world just seems to accept, well, if you say you don't torture people, then obviously you don't. I mean, if you say you don't, well, obviously you don't. So let's keep doing business with Singapore, and let's keep catching Singapore Airlines, and let's keep going on holidays to Singapore, because everything's good. And obviously, maybe the Nazis won the war if there's torture going on. But that doesn't matter. Hitler was a good guy, you know. He had the right idea, he just got a bit lost in the jungle or something.
He chased down, and my mate, who was working as cabin crew at the time, went and put it on and put the hat on and took a photograph, and I've seen it.
Oh my God!
And that's pretty good.
That's on the scale of Joan Rivers when the doctors took a photo of her. Oops! Oh, and she died.
Actually, maybe it was my mate who got trapped in a lift. And they just thought it was. Yeah.
Wow. Well, apparently the television networks in Italy went bananas because he was delayed. They televised his Sunday prayer, right, and he wasn't coming out. So of course they're all speculating he's maybe off the
What do you mean?
I meant off the twig. He might have fallen off the twig.
He may have gone to see his boss.
His maker.
Gone to see the boss.
The great news is, in his address, he announced he's going to create 10 new Roman Catholic cardinals next month. So isn't that terrific?
He's obviously had a good think in there.
What sort of music they had going on in the lift over? They sort of played that sort of music sort of stuff.
I would have thought they might have a bit more of this.
Oh, what's that one? A little bit of...
Hey, Pope, you need some cowbell. That's the famous thing to.
All right.
Out of anyone in the world, if I got trapped in a lift, the last person I want to be trapped with is the friggin' Pope. Jeez.
Hot sun beating down, burning my feet just walking around. Hot sun making me sweat, gate is getting close, hasn't died yet. I can dance, I can talk, only thing about me is the way I walk. To me, but she's out of reach. She's got a body under that shirt, but all she wants to do is rub my face in the dirt. 'Cause I can dance, I can talk, only thing about me is the way I walk. I can dance, I can sing, I'm just standing here selling. Oh, I'm checking everything is in place.
find the lovers at the bar is where I go. Me and my friends at the table doing shots, tripping fast and then we talk slow. Come over and start up a conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance. Now take my hand, stop up and the man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. And now I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead. I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. Last night you were in my room, and now my bedsheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. Well, I'm in love with your body. 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 Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of when we came, we let the story begin. We're going out on our first date. You and me are thrifty, so go all you can eat. Fill up your bag and I fill up the plate. We talk for hours and hours about the sweet and the sour and how your family's doing okay. Leaving it in a taxi, kissing the backseat, tell the driver make the radio play. And I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead. I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. Last night you were in my room, and now my bedsheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with your body. 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 Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of you. Come on, be my baby. Come on, 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 come on, be my baby. Come on. I'm in love with the shape of you. Push and pull like a magnet. Oh, my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. Last night you were in my room, and now my bedsheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with your body. Come on, be my baby. Come on, come on, I'm in love with your body. Be my baby. Come on, I'm in love with your body. Come on, be my baby. Come on, I'm in love with your body. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of you.
Rob Sitch is going to join us in the next 10-15 minutes. Stick around for that. You're listening to Kennedy Malloy, Jane Kennedy McMalloy, right now.
I'd never put Utopia up against Judi Dench's Wild Borneo Adventure.
No, that would be foolish.
Could be suicide because Judi Dench grabs you, but a Wild Borneo Adventure. Is she putting a plate in her mouth? I mean, what's she
I told
doing?
you she's ziplining.
She's not ziplining.
She is. She's checking out the jungle because it's in great danger because of all the palm oil
Must be happy
forestry
hour
going
and
on.
there's a cocktail bar somewhere in the
Come on.
Serengeti.
He gets about in a good way.
All right, so you mentioned something else that you liked.
I enjoyed the show that
This is
Judy
incredible,
did. It's
everyone.
Judi Dench's passion for trees. And
Okay,
she has-
no, I'm not convinced that's a real...
Totally real.
I'm not convinced that's a real show.
It is. She has a beautiful wood that she lives in. And
What do you
she's-
mean?
She has a woods in her back
Oh,
garden.
what does she do? Go around identifying trees?
Yeah, and she listens to them with a stethoscope. Yes, because they're alive.
Of course she does.
But they're moving, and Shakespeare
Does
loves.
she like hit on them or anything?
No,
Are
no,
they
it's-
hot? What's
They
hot?
are some are hot.
What's her hottest tree?
The yew tree. I
The
think.
yew.
Why
I'll
don't
tell you something, I'm a bit of a Boab man.
Well, she's not going to find a Boab in her backyard.
If you
is
had
she?
one tree that you
Boabs
you
are very impressive.
Boab, you know what they are? They're the rock stars of the Kimberley.
They are.
It doesn't matter what happens, a Boab draws a crowd. Dave, what would you want?
I'm more of a frangipani kind of guy.
Okay, we'll just go back to Hawaii, will we? And just get one of
Listen to
those.
yourself.
here.
Do you know in certain parts of the South Pacific,
Yes.
if you come in to your room in your hotel and there's a frangipani on your bed, it means someone and housekeeping has taken a shine to you.
Really? Is that right? This is
happened
according,
to
this
you?
is according to Mick.
Mate,
I've got some audio from
I'm
Judy
telling
Dench's
you.
Passion for the Trees.
Why
if you
would I
want to
make
hear
that
it.
up?
No,
Why
you
would
wouldn't
we-
make it up. Let's hear Judy Dench talk about Passion for Trees.
So, Judy, I've brought you here to see this tree, which is a favourite of mine in Surrey.
Oh my word! However old is it?
Probably 1,500 years old.
1,500
happening
years.
now.
Do you know if Shakespeare loved trees, and that's why Judy and Shakespeare had something in common? And but 1,500. How much has that tree seen?
Yeah.
So much.
Been through it all.
It's been through it all.
Fortunately, I can't tell us anything about what it's been through.
Well,
Because
it
it's a
can't be.
tree.
Oh, come on, use your
Is there
imagination.
fans you can think of? Who
I'm
might
sure
like this?
people have seen it.
Who would have seen that?
Hang on, Adam. Adam's on the line. Hey, Adam.
Good afternoon.
Tell me, have you seen Judy Dench's Passion for Trees?
Oh, I definitely have.
See? What do you
First
think?
all I have to say is I can't see you, Jane, with a sling on, flying down through the Amazon.
Oh, how dare
down
you.
Into
Mate.
the jungle.
Hey,
and getting your python for your new handbag.
Mate, listen to this. I tracked 5 hours
there we
through
go,
the
Dave.
windy, impenetrable forest because I'm not sure if you're aware that I've been to Africa.
Yeah, that's not the Amazon, is it?
Well, they're
Well,
just
same, Dave.
Dave, you can't find it. Giving it up.
Adam, did you like the show?
Oh, thank you.
Jane's been to Africa.
It was a very interesting show.
Did you like the show? Well, what did you
About
like
trees.
about it, Adam?
Especially when she had the horn up against the trees.
That's what I'm saying.
I beg your pardon.
Because she could hear them.
Get him. Dave, I don't think Adam's taking it seriously.
The best bit was they had the 340-degree computer stuff
Yes.
going around in her backyard.
Which I loved.
What's the show called?
It's called Judy Dench's Passion for Trees.
I'd rather see.
She has her old oak tree.
Oh, goddamn. Okay, damn. I'd rather see Don Burke, My Passion for Trees. Now, can I ask you this? What type...
You're not taking this seriously.
Can I ask you a question? Well, obviously you've got your mighty oak and your red gum and your hardwoods. Would she consider a fern a tree? Is a fern a tree? Judy Dench, would she include fern?
Fern.
Good, you get tree
What
ferns.
about a hedge?
No, well, this
What
is
about a
where...
creeper? What about a creeper?
But you're just being
Oh, come on,
antagonistic.
Jane, I'm not.
We're just talking about wood.
I'm trying to work it. Yeah, but is it... So what about a creeper? What about moss? You would get...
No, you're being stupid.
Well, moss is a tree.
Moss is not
It's
a
a
tree.
plant.
It's not a tree. Oh, yeah,
Pretty
great.
sexy.
She's trying to get rid of the palm oil, the trees that people...
Oh, more of those.
She doesn't want to get rid of them. She's going... That's why she's gone to Borneo.
About logging. What's her sense of logging?
Anyway, I think we've had enough of Judy
Do you
Dench.
like beavers? Right away, a beaver takes
Don't,
a
how dare you say that to me?
What about, I'd like to get on the end of one of those double saws with Judy Dench and take down a giant redwood.
Would you really? You've just got that.
You know, like lumberjacks. Can she climb a tree like a lumberjack with a spiky shoes?
We have confirmation fern is not a tree.
Who's giving you the confirmation?
Google is. Thank you, Dave. Who's coming up next?
Oh, Rob Sitch is going to join us next.
Edge, go get a really edge, I want it.
Shut up.
Kennedy Malloy cut through the rest. And Makita's cordless power garden range will help you cut through garden work with less noise and no fuel.
I heard about the Pope getting stuck in the lift, being late to church. I wonder what the Pope would say about the DJ being tortured in Singapore. Because, you know, there are a lot of Christians in Singapore. I wonder, do they take their faith seriously? Or do they take their faith seriously? Because whether you take your faith seriously or depends whether you're loving and empathetic and decent to your fellow human beings. Or if you take it seriously, you can be really brutal and cruel and nasty, you see, just as easily. Because there's a lot of Christians in Australia. Australia's a Christian nation. There's a lot of Christians in Australia who are really, really nasty, cruel, vicious, mean people. And they claim not to be nasty or cruel or to take pleasure in the suffering of others. But they do it anyway. It's like, oh, well, we're enforcing the law. That's our job, to enforce the law. And that's what the caners in Singapore say too. That's our job, we're our law enforcers. That's what we have to do. It's our duty. And I call a big BS. And I'm coughing.
Call Bloomers for your free initial advice and visit bloomers.com.au.
Blooming out. A coughing fit. You know, when you get, if you get caned really hard and you're trying to stay silent, which is very hard if you're in agony, excruciating pain, you tend to cough. It's one of the physical reactions is to cough. But the pain that you feel from Cat 5 caning is beyond description. It's like, it's indescribably bad. When I've read enough people that have, descriptions from people that have been caned in Singapore, judicial caning, to get a fair picture of what it's like. And you know, over time it's got worse, not better. It's got worse. The sadists have got more sadistic in Singapore. The sickos have got sicker. The torturers have got more demented over time. So it's the opposite of the Enlightenment. They're going backwards. Even as their technology improves and their economy gets bigger and they become more of a civilized place to look at, they're actually becoming more barbaric, cruel, demented, and evil. And yet, these people call themselves Buddhists, or they call themselves Christians, or they call themselves Muslims. All three religions are in Singapore, and others. It's about a third Buddhist, then Christian, then Islam. And you'd think a place that's so diverse in its religions would be therefore open-minded and a nice place, you know, like civilized. And they said, we are civilized. We're like, we've got the lowest crime rate. That's why, because we're so tough on crime. And it's like BS. Your people are living in terror. They are terrified of their government because you're authoritarian and you torture your own people. And you don't have to do much wrong to be tortured in Singapore. Actually, if you're caught homosexual, doing something homosexual, that's 6 strokes of the Cat 5 cane, right there. I don't need to say any more, do I? I think that says it all.
Brilliant people, here comes the big second hour of Kennedy Malloy.
You got that right, big fella. Coming up in this hour, Jane Kennedy has gone for a rummage through the women's bags, and once again, she's going to make the call. Yep, she calls bullshit.
I do. There's quite a few things here.
Can I jump in as well? I've
Please
got one.
do.
Have you just give us something to wet the whistle?
All right. Delta caught in cult nightmare.
I call bullshit.
You see, I've got to read on.
You do? What's Delta doing? Is she okay?
I dare you to walk past that at a newsstand and not have your interest piqued.
Exactly.
If we've got time, we might talk about famous people you've met and didn't realise they were famous. I've done it a couple of times.
Yes, that would be right. I've never done it because I know everyone.
No, you've never done it because you never realised they were famous and are still unaware.
Oh, really?
In fact, I think I've seen you do it.
Really?
Yes.
You think
yes.
so?
Hang in there.
Okay.
We'll take your calls, we'll take your tweets, but let's over the top with this bloke.
Rob Sitch is back on our screens with the multi-award winning comedy Utopia, 9 p.m. Wednesday on ABC.
Where are we going this year?
Every year, things are a little bit different. The buildings weren't flammable the last series.
He's also director, producer, and writer of the show, and he joins us now. Please welcome back Rob Sitch.
Michael,
This is probably...
Danger. Hello, mate.
Hello, Rob.
Great to be back. Hey,
Is this the only chance you guys have to catch up?
It is a bit
we do.
extra.
It is, Jane, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, I didn't say hello to you properly. This is awkward.
Hey, you did a topic last week, Good Dads.
Yeah, good dads.
That was a really interesting topic. And I was thinking, I was trying to think of really, really great dad stories
Yeah. Sure.
and and I checked this up because it's like an echo. I remember that to do with the 1924 Paris Olympics.
Yep.
There's a guy called Frank Havens, and he was in line to win the gold medal in the canoeing. And his wife was going to give birth,
Yep.
and he realised it was going to fall while they were away.
Right.
And he pulled out because he wanted to be there for his son's birth.
Wow.
Yeah. The US team went across to Paris, won the gold medal.
Right.
His son, that was born that day, took up canoeing, went to the Helsinki Olympics, and sent the following telegram in 1952. Dear Dad, thanks for waiting around for me to get born in 1924. I'm coming home with the gold medal you should have won. Your loving son, Frank.
Oh, you want me to go to the
There she goes.
Jeez.
That is a great story. Actually, I thought what I thought you were going to tell was there's a famous story, I think from around about the same Olympics, where a guy in a kayak at the Olympics famously was winning, stopped because a duck and some ducklings were crossing in front of him, and he pretty much stopped, it passed, and then dropped back and forth, then soldiered on and won anyway. All right, my story's not as good as yours.
No, it's pretty good. Ducklings.
Because I'm reading a book on a history, part of the history of golf at the moment. And it reminded me.
Surprising.
So we chat about it all night.
Oh, good times, good chat. Oh my God, with just so much
Tell
overlap
me more.
between our interests.
What's happening in chapter 7, Rob? Tell me.
Does it read aloud to you?
Oh, I asked for it.
There's a category called hard dads. Like in the early 1900s, late 1800s, they were hard dads,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And there's this amazing story. It's called The Greatest Golf Game Ever Played, 1913. A 20-year-old amateur who lived near where the US Open was played, qualified, walked across the street. They were poor families.
Yes.
Francis Ouimet. And he started playing out of his socks. And his dad hated him playing golf, took no interest. Anyway, Friday afternoon, he made the playoff against the greatest player in the world, Harry Vardon. He walks in, his father is reading the paper with his son's photo on the front page of the Boston Globe, and his dad doesn't say anything.
Oh.
Hard, right. So he goes out the next day, one of the most amazing sporting stories of all time, 1930,
Yes.
20-year-old amateur, unprecedented, wins the US Open in front of 10,000 people. And he's lifted up onto people's shoulders, and he looks across, and his father's in the gallery.
Oh, thank
And
God.
they catch their eye, and his father salutes him. See?
Listen up, boys. That's what I want. Something like that in my life. Do you read that before you go to bed? Is that like a 50 Shades?
I'm reading,
Hey, Rob.
I'm reading too, Jane.
Hey,
Father's Day, just quickly, can we ask, we were asking our listeners today what they got. What was the booty?
what you did.
What
You,
was the
you,
bounty?
you had a job to do too, didn't you, for soccer?
Yeah, no, I got, yeah. No, you know what? Yeah, that's right. I
You
got-
How'd you
were...
go?
I substitute timesman, and I'm the timekeeper. And I'm going,
What, you weren't even the times.
just when I mastered putting the net on. And as I'm going, I'm going, when is a timekeeper going to pull a hamstring? And I've got to say,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't that at all.
No.
I had to time it for the substitutes.
Right,
Yes.
gotcha.
But I got really chatty to the other parents, and the coach ran and goes, Rob. The coach is what time is it? Oh, geez, I've got the stopwatch on my iPhone. I go, 11 minutes. So that was my whole job.
That was the morning. And then what were the presents that your children...
Jeez, you're pumping this up.
I'm not pumping it up at all.
I
Joe's so
got a
proud.
box of Maltesers.
Yes, and that we've already had people who've got that. It's a very common one.
No, that's the 7-Eleven
I
stopwatch.
wouldn't say that was the highlight. A couple of tops, golf tops, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Some
And
hot, sweet chili sauce.
there you go. I mean, join the dots between all the...
Isn't that something that
Is
dads
that,
want?
They do. And a relish.
Dads like relish.
I think we've hit a wall here.
All right. When we come
It
back...
would have been nice to get a temper mattress or something. Come round, Rob.
Hey!
No,
We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Utopia.
Yeah.
It's gone berserk. We love it to death.
You're going to talk about the upcoming episode.
And I want to hear about have you been paying attention tonight too. I'd like to know who's on it. Who's taking my seat.
Rob Stitch is with us. This is Kennedy Malloy.
Living like a lover with a red iPhone. Looking like a tramp, like a video man. Tell me what you want, can I be your man? Dancing in the day. Tell me what you love, baby, go all night. From time to time, sugar me sweet. Little Mr. Innocent, sugar me, I got
Jane Kennedy, Mick Malloy, Rob Sitch. By the way, have you been paying attention back on the TV tonight? That'll be after Survivor, which is going great.
That's still going.
Yeah, really
It
good
can't
too.
be a very hard island because they're all still alive. I mean, if my see Survivor, they should all be dead in about a week. You know, they should be eating each other.
People want to watch that.
We just have to eat the last guy.
It's a really good series, and I don't know what the
Should be
big
in the
difference
Andes.
is. But
Survivor should be in the Andes, and someone should get eaten in the first episode.
They should just crash a plane into the Andes. See,
There you go, bang. And run in
there's a
and film
show.
it. If
Why
you-
don't you pitch that in Channel 10's Pitch Week?
That's it.
I've pitched,
Pilot
I've
Week.
pitched worse. Don't you worry about that.
You're in the 737 MAX trial. That's right.
737. Earlier we had 337. But now we've got 73356. That's how many kilometers my car has done. And you might think it's weird to have like comedy on the radio in a video, like I'm making a video and I'm listening to comedy and I'm talking about a guy who was tortured. It's not that weird actually, because the guy who was tortured was a fun-loving guy who liked to bring joy to people through music. There's different ways to bring joy to other people, and one way is music and one way is comedy, and there's all kinds of ways. Sport. There's every way, man, that you can do it. Every way. And no way is necessarily worse or better than any other way. You know what I mean? There's no right way and no wrong way to bring joy to people. There is a wrong way to punish someone for a crime, and that is to torture them. And it's not hard to tell the difference between punishing someone for breaking laws and torturing somebody. It's not hard at all, really. But some governments like to pretend that they are punishing but not torturing, that they're enforcing laws without torturing people, when they are clearly torturing people. In fact, most governments, maybe not most, but a lot of governments, too many. Singapore are an example of a government that brutally tortures people who are peace-loving people, peace-loving civilians. Lawbreakers, maybe. But if someone is peace-loving and they have a loving heart and they're basically a good person, and you torture them, you're taking a huge risk because you don't know who you're torturing, do you? What happens if you torture someone who is like a son of an archangel? What happens then? Well, then you get the reflection, don't you? Michael's an archangel. You know, when Hurricane Michael was smashing into Mexico Beach, do you know what was breaking on the news at the same time? It was Jamal Khashoggi. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that name quite right, but he was the Saudi journalist who dared to criticize the Crown Prince. And when he went to pick up his paperwork from the Saudi embassy in Turkey, well, he never came out again. And everyone knows the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia was the one who ordered the journalist be tortured and murdered. The prosecution was arguing, wanting Ye Ming-yuen to be hung in Singapore. That's what the prosecution wanted. They wanted him to be hung for using drugs, dealing drugs, buying drugs, selling drugs to his friends. Drug trafficking. See, once you brand somebody as a criminal, then you can argue, oh well, we're our right now. We can execute them, we can torture them, we can punish them however we deem fit, because we're the state, we're the government, we are a sovereign power, and we have the sovereign right to do whatever we want. So said the Nazis, and I always thought the Nazis lost the war. But then I read about this guy. I read about just how extreme the torture is in Singapore, and it is really extreme. And to appreciate it, you probably need to see the DJ's ass, what they did to his ass, his bum, his butt cheeks, his backside. That's what you probably need to see to appreciate just how badly they torture people in Singapore. Good people, loving people. I say Cat 5 caning because that's what it is. It's Cat 5 caning. And when an angel gets tortured, he can only dream in red. That's what I was saying ages ago, right? At the start of the video. He can only dream in red. Because he's in shockland, he's in trauma world. That's why you shouldn't do it. Singapore, you've made a huge mistake. My videos don't need to be well put together, you know. I don't need to say everything perfectly. I don't even need to say everything well. I just need to say, Singapore, you've made a massive mistake. And the person you tortured, the DJ that you tortured this year, 2019, ooh, I accidentally bit my horn. It's like a huge mistake. And it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake that you tortured him. That was deliberate, cruel, nasty, sick, demented, like you do to a lot of people. But it was a mistake in that you didn't realize who you were torturing. Because if you had realized who you were torturing, you wouldn't have done it. Because if you knew what happens when an angel dreams in red, an angel of Gabriel, well, you wouldn't have done it, because for that to be reflected, the nightmares of an angel of Gabriel to be reflected out into the world is really frightening. And like I said, the protests in Hong Kong aren't going to matter if there's no city left because of a super typhoon. Do you know what I mean? I mean, heaps of cities are sitting ducks for monster Cat 5 storms, sadists, demonic destroyers, torturers. I've been talking about Gabrielle. I've been saying she's not Gabriel. It's true, she's not. She's not Gabriel. Dorian the DJ, the strongest hurricane ever to make landfall in the Atlantic Basin. Dorian, that was today. What are the chances of another powerful cyclone? Hurricane. Because Dorian's the D name, right? Dorian's the D name. And, well, if Dorian's the D name, G, I wonder who the mirror boy is. Gabrielle. G, I wonder who the mirror boy is. Oh, that's freaky. Because I haven't really thought about it like that. Why have I got these two photos? Why these photos? Shadow. What is the shadow of God? It's through his eye. The shadow is through his eye. The eye of the hurricane. There's something very scary going on. And Singapore, I can guarantee you, you've made a horrific mistake. It's no accident. I don't mean accident. You didn't accidentally torture this guy. It's deliberate. It's sick. It's cruel. It's depraved. It's nasty. It's malicious. It's bordering on... Well, no, it's not bordering on psychopathic. It is psychopathic. What you people do. It is psychopathic. Because if you had an ounce of empathy, an ounce of human empathy in you, you wouldn't do it. You simply would not do it. So you are completely lacking empathy. You are psychopaths. Like the Nazis. No better. At all. So it's kind of weird that the West, the democracy, freedom-loving West, is so keen to do business with Singapore. Not just the West. every country's going to suffer from this, you know, because it's a small world. When an angel of Gabriel starts dreaming in red, really bad stuff starts to happen. How bad? You don't want to know, actually. You don't want to know how bad. A sign at 1:37? Maybe. It's all very cryptic, you know. Not necessarily wanting to tell you exactly what's happening. Because why would he? Why would he want to give you a real heads up on what's going to happen when he's in jail, dreaming in red, dreaming in blood, dreaming in trauma, dreaming in horror, the hurricane? See, the trauma, the extreme trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder. When you're still in jail, when you're still in the captivity of the people that tortured you, it gets pretty scary. It gets scary fast. Like it goes from, oh, this is bad, like it did in the islands last night, today. It goes from this is, oh, well, this is like serious, to this, oh, to holy mother hell. Like the caning itself. It's like being on Blaine the Pain. It's scary. It's freaky how fast it evolves. It's like the pain from the first stroke of the Cat 5 cane. At first you think, oh, it's not as bad as I thought, because you can't feel anything at first. Because it's so bad. Actually, it's so bad that your body can't interpret the pain straight away. It takes a few seconds for the pain to fully register. And then it's not actually pain. It's something far worse than pain. Excruciating agony. That's the second stroke. Yeah, it's not like getting the cane at school. Even though that's bad enough. If it's a sadist, if it's someone that's enjoying, you know, getting off on torturing, they're probably not going real easy on you. But, you know, when it's done by the government and they're doing it deliberately as intensely as possible, well, then things get real bad real fast. And the reflection out into the real world is exactly the same. So if you're not scared, you should be scared. You should be terrified. Not just Singapore. If you live on planet Earth, you should be absolutely terrified of what's about to happen. So I would recommend releasing Yiming Yuan from jail ASAP.